So most people aren't aware, but sometime last year, I was evicted from my home that I was living in, and that resulted in me and my kids having to live in hotel rooms and Airbnbs. During the time of us going through that, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't work a 9 to 5 job. I didn't really do anything really for income, honestly, you guys. I know that I was mainly dependent upon my child's father. And although me and him worked together and he would give me the cold shoulder and mistreat me, he would still like do things for me financially from time to time. Most of the times it came with him talking junk about me and, you know, bad mouthing me. But I guess I just put up with it because I figured that I needed him, being that I was so dependent on him for so many years. So when we got evicted out of our apartment last year, and I went through that, basically he was the one giving me money to get hotel rooms and Airbnbs. Now let me add, sometimes I would have a friend just send me money. I feel like that was God. You know, that was God behind that friend sending me money. But at times I would have situations like that. So he wasn't doing it all of the time, but he was the one funding it most of the time. Basically, that went on for about 4 or 5 months. Yeah, that went on for about 4 or 5 months. It got to a time where it was just really scarce, y'all. It was really scarce. He was talking down on me so bad. Like, he would act like he didn't want to help me. And, you know, looking back on it, I wasn't mad at him at the time, but I really can't be mad at him because he's his own person. He has his own life to worry about. But also, being that I felt like he was someone that cared about me and that loved me, the way that he was down talking me, I feel like it made it harder for me to get up, because the things he was saying to me made me not believe in myself. So that went on. Eventually, around Thanksgiving time, I would say about 2 days after Thanksgiving, one day I woke up and I ended up breaking my phone. And it's crazy because I woke up so early, way earlier than the kids. I woke up and I ended up dropping my phone and my phone broke. So when my phone broke, I didn't have no way to pay for the room because the little money that I did have was on my phone on Apple Pay. So at that time, I began to call my child's father. I called my friends. I called everybody that I could, and honestly, nobody could help me extend my hotel room. I'm not gonna lie, I remember that day was really cold outside. It made me cry because, you know, I just felt like I had met the end of every rope. Like, it was nowhere else to turn. That's how I felt. No family, no child's father, not even a friend could help me extend my hotel room, which it was only like $60 something or $70 something, but nobody could help me. So basically, I ended up having to walk up the street to a friend's job, trying to plead my case to them, which was my last result, which was devastating to me because I had to walk in the cold, even though my kids were bundled up, but still just my kids having to see me cry, walk in the cold, like, just the situation was just heartbreaking to me. We walked up the street and I ended up going to my friend's job, trying to plead my case to them, letting them know that I would be able to pay them back. And long story short, my friend told me they couldn't do it. So I called my mom, I called my baby's father to see if they could get the kids, because I'm like, okay, I have no other choice. Nobody can help me, so I know I'm gonna get kicked out of this hotel room. And I don't have nowhere to go. I don't have no one I can stay with. So I know 9 times out of 10 I'm gonna have to go to a shelter. So I began to call them to see if they could get the kids, so the kids wouldn't have to go through that with me. So long story short, I called everyone. Everyone told me they couldn't help, honestly. Even family, y'all, they told me they couldn't do it. And I'm not gonna lie, yes, family had done this for me in the prior in the past when I had went through similar situations, but this time was different. Like, nobody could help, like, with anything. And it was just crazy. It was unbelievable. I ended up having to call the police and explain the situation to them, telling them that I had nowhere to go, like literally had nowhere to go, and that I didn't want my kids in the shelter. I want to send a special thank you to the police and to the officers that came out to assist me, because they were 100% genuine. They went and bought my kids food. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't even thinking. My kids did not eat because I was up so early trying to get the situation resolved on my phone. When I seen that we had to walk up the street to my friend's job, I didn't think to feed my kids, honestly, y'all. And I hope y'all don't feel like that makes me a bad mother. I was more so worried about making sure my kids have shelter over their heads. And yes, they had eaten the night prior. It was only like 9 o'clock when we got up. By the time the police got to us, it was about 10 o'clock, going on 11. So the police went and bought the kids some McDonald's. They asked me was I hungry, but I was just so devastated, crying and everything. Like, I didn't even have an appetite. I didn't have an appetite. My baby daddy was talking down to me when I was calling him, so I was more so disappointed at myself for having to be in the situation I was in. Basically, the officer called another, like, he's a detective, but he's some type of detective that helps, like, I don't know what kind of detective he is. I just knew he was a detective because he pulled up in an unmarked car and he had on a uniform. And he basically was asking me, like, what was the situation? Like, how did I end up where I was? And I was basically telling him the situation. I do not want to cry. Ooh. Okay, so basically, I was telling him the situation, and I was telling him what I had explained to you guys earlier in this video, that I was dependent upon my baby's father, and I got a little deeper with him. He basically had confirmed what I already knew, that I was with somebody that was emotionally and mentally abusive, more so like a manipulator and a narcissist. And he let me know that that's why he got into the line of work that he's in, because he seen his mom go through similar situations and he basically wanted to be a help. That moment was a relief to me, because for so long I went on thinking that I was responsible. And yes, I was responsible because it was my life. But I always knew that my baby's father was of no help emotionally, because he was the one beating me down. And although he was helping me financially, he was beating me down mentally and emotionally. So it really wasn't worth what I received financially from him. And even if he gave me $1 million, it would never be worth somebody downing you as a person, as a human, and degrading you in your character. It's not okay. And it's not, nothing is worth that. Nothing is worth that. So he ended up telling me about a family shelter, and they called the family shelter, and the family shelter said that they had no openings. And honestly, it sounded like a pretty nice place for us to be, you know, rather than being on the streets and being at the KEARNEY Center, which is the actual shelter. So I was hopeful upon that. But they said that they basically told them that the place told them that they had no more openings, so we couldn't go there. They told me to wait for a couple of minutes for them to try to figure something else out, because the only other option would be the KEARNEY Center. So another police officer drove up. So at this time it was 3. And that officer came up to me and he told me that he personally had went to the family shelter to talk to them, and that they were willing to accept me and my kids into the family shelter. Oh, y'all, excuse me, I get emotional telling this story because words cannot explain what I felt in those moments, you know, especially with my kids. And the other times I had went through similar situations, I didn't have my kids I didn't have to look after my kids. My mama had my kids. But this time was different. This time was different. You know, I had to do this. I had to do this. I couldn't just take the easy route out. And not like I wanted to, but just going through it felt so... words can't even describe the feeling. Words cannot describe the feeling. It feels like something that you just want to get out of, you know? And not like in a bad way, but something you just want to triumph over and overcome. The police officer told me that the shelter, that he personally went to the family shelter and they were willing to take us in. So from there, they gave us a ride to go to the hotel to get the rest of our belongings, and they took us along to the family shelter. When I arrived at the family shelter, I was nervous. One of my daughters was 7 years old. She's 8 now. She was 7 at the time. So, you know, it was kind of heartbreaking for her to see me go through that, because I just knew, like, she knows what's going on versus my little 2-year-old. She doesn't know as much. So, that was kind of heartbreaking, but at the same time, it was a bit of a relief, because I knew that I could use that time to get myself together and to do what I needed to do to overcome my situation and be my best self for my kids. So I did my intake and everything like that. We stayed there for about a month or a little over a month. During my stay there, they provided 3 meals a day, even though sometimes I would get food order up there from my family. Sometimes my family would visit and like bring food for the kids. But yeah, they provided 3 meals a day. They would do like little drives where they'll have like clothes and stuff hung up, and you'll be able to go get that from like the covered area. They had like blankets and stuff too, because it was really cold in those dorms. They had blankets and stuff too that we could get. They had washers and dryers there. We just have to pay like $1.25. And yeah, it was pretty normal. Kind of reminded me of like a juvenile program or something. But it was way better than what our stay would have been if we had to go to the KEARNEY Center. So we stayed at the shelter for about a month. During that time, my mom and them would visit from time to time and bring food and stuff. I honestly, when I first got there, I didn't want nobody to know where I was. I don't know if it's because I was ashamed. I don't think it's because I was ashamed, but for the most part, I didn't want nobody to know where I was. When my mom and when my family, and including my baby father, found out where I was, I feel like they seen like, okay, she's been a stand-up mom, now she's been a stand-up person. She's taking this serious, she's not playing. I feel like they acknowledged that, and that's why they began to step in and bring food and come see the kids from time to time. So, yeah. Also during that time, I began to focus on myself and choose myself. I began to not prioritize money and materials as much as I did prior. So, with that, I began to stray away from my baby's father. I didn't really, you know, I wasn't tolerant as to the things that he was doing to me before. If he would try to do that, I would just hang up on him and I'd talk to him for days. I just became less dependent on him. I became non-dependent on him, actually. Like the dependence upon him just went away while I was there, honestly. We eventually got help from them. We get in our apartment. They helped me with paying my rent and paying my deposit to get in and paying my rent up for a couple of months. So that was a huge relief because I didn't have to depend on my baby father for that. And I had time to like figure out what I wanted to do as far as my income and just get my, you know, footing again. So that was really great, thank God. And it all ended up ultimately working out. Now, I can say my kids did end up spending Christmas with me in the shelter, but it was a great Christmas, y'all. I was very happy. Even though we didn't spend it amongst family, we spent it amongst friends, you know, because everybody there was genuine and everybody there was down to earth. The kids received a lot of gifts. Like, they had so many gifts, the whole room was filled with gifts, y'all. They were so happy. They were so happy. The room was filled with gifts. And yeah, like, everything just worked out. Everything just worked out. So if it was anything I could go back and tell myself in the beginning of going through all of that is, it all works out. It all works out. Just keep going. Keep your head up and let go of the baggage. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video / story time. If you guys enjoyed, go ahead and hit that like button. Leave me a comment. Don't be scared to chit chat with me. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel.